My name is Opal Smith. I'm 28 years old, and I've been financially independent since I was 19. That sentence is the one my parents loved to repeat to other people, like it was proof they'd done everything right, like my independence was a trophy they could display. But the truth behind it was uglier. I didn't become self sufficient because they trained me well. I became self sufficient because I learned early that if I wanted stability, comfort, or even basic fairness, I would have to build it myself. I work in commercial real estate sales. The job is relentless. Calls that never end, clients who change their minds 3 times, deals that fall apart in a single email. It's not glamorous most days. It's grind. But I chose it because I wanted control over my life. I wanted to be the one holding the keys, not asking someone else for permission to breathe. My younger brother is Evan. He's 26. He works part-time at a vape shop when he feels like showing up, and he's been financially dependent on our parents since forever. The kind of dependence that doesn't even come with gratitude anymore, just expectation. Like their basement is his birthright and their money is his allowance from the universe. But the difference between us wasn't just work ethic. It was how we were raised. Before I get to the main story, you need to understand the family dynamic I grew up in, because this didn't come out of nowhere. The favoritism in my house wasn't subtle, it was loud, constant. So obvious that teachers, neighbors, and even extended family noticed it. When I was 8, I saved my allowance for months to buy a remote control helicopter. I'd wanted so badly, it felt like a piece of my soul had taken plastic form. I remember counting coins on my bedroom floor, stacking quarters, feeling proud in a way only a kid who earned something can feel. When I finally bought it, I treated it like treasure. I played with it for 2 days. On the third day, Evan, he was 5, grabbed it off my desk, ran out to the garage, and crashed it straight into the door. The sound of cracking plastic still lives in my memory. Pieces skittered across the concrete like confetti at a party nobody invited me to. I started crying. I yelled. I demanded to know why he was even in my room. My parents didn't rush to comfort me. They sighed like I was the inconvenience. They told me accidents happen, that I needed to learn to share. No replacement, no consequences, not even a forced apology that sounded like it was dragged out of him. That same year, Evan wanted an expensive Lego set. My parents bought it immediately. When he lost half the pieces within a week, they bought him another one. Different rules for different kids. Middle school was more of the same. I got straight A's and a part-time job at a diner. Evan brought home 3 C's, 2 D's, and a B- in gym. My parents took him to his favorite restaurant to celebrate how hard he tried. I remember sitting at the table, watching him grin while my mom ruffled his hair like he'd just won an award. And I remember the sting of a thought I couldn't even name yet. If I succeed, it's expected. If he fails, it's heroic. High school amplified everything. I joined debate team. I worked at a restaurant. I maintained a 3.9 GPA. Evan barely graduated with a 2.1. When I graduated, my parents said parties were too expensive. No dinner, no decorations, no gathering. Just a stiff, good job and an unspoken message. Don't ask for more. 3 years later, Evan's graduation had catered food, a DJ, and 80 people in our backyard. My mom beamed while she said, "Your brother needs more encouragement than you did." Encouragement. That word was their favorite weapon. Soft enough to sound loving, sharp enough to cut. When I was 16, I wanted a car. My parents told me to save up myself because learning responsibility builds character. So I did. I washed dishes, lived on ramen, saved every penny for 2 years. Finally, I bought a beat-up Honda Civic with 180,000 miles. No AC, burned oil. But it was mine because I earned it. When Evan turned 16 3 years later, he mentioned wanting a car once at dinner. 2 weeks later, my parents bought him a 3-year-old Camry with 30,000 miles. Their explanation was the same line they always used. Your brother isn't as capable as you. He needs more support. Within 6 months, Evan had 3 speeding tickets and a fender bender. My parents paid for everything. Repairs, fees, insurance increases. He didn't even look embarrassed. It was just normal. College followed that pattern like it was carved into stone. I went to community college, then transferred to a state school because that's what I could afford while working night shifts at a grocery store. I graduated with a business degree and $12,000 in loans. Evan went to an expensive private college at $50,000 a year. My parents paid tuition, rent, credit card spending money, everything. It took him 6 years. He changed majors 4 times. He ended up with a general studies degree, and my parents still talked about him like he'd climbed Mount Everest in flip-flops. When I questioned the unfairness, my dad said, "You turned out fine on your own, so our approach worked." That's what they never understood. I turned out fine because I stopped expecting them to show up for me. My mom liked to say I was naturally self-sufficient. What she really meant was, I learned early that I couldn't count on them. So I didn't. I never asked my parents for help after turning 19. I worked full-time through college, graduated at 22, got my real estate license, and started making decent money by 25. By 26, I bought my first rental property with money I'd saved living cheap. By 27, I'd saved enough for my own house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a nice neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. That house wasn't just a purchase, it was proof. Proof that I could build a life without their approval. Proof that independence could be peaceful. Proof that boundaries could be real. The day I got the keys was one of the proudest moments of my life. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a kind of quiet awe. I stood in the empty living room and listened to the silence like it was music. No shouting, no guilt, no constant comparison. I called my parents, thinking naively that maybe they'd be proud. My mom said, "That's nice, dear. Evan got promoted to shift supervisor." A 25-cent raise at a pizza place. I remember staring at my front door, keys still warm in my palm, and feeling something settle in my chest. Heavy, final. No matter what I built, I would never be the child they celebrated. Evan was still living in their basement at 26. Never paid rent. Never had utilities in his name. My parents covered everything while he worked 20 hours a week at a vape shop. They complained he'd never move out while doing his laundry and handing him money like a reward. I kept my distance. I showed up for major holidays out of obligation, then went back to my own life. Career, investments, friends, peace. And that's the part that still makes my stomach twist when I think about what happened next. Because I thought distance would protect me, I didn't realize my parents didn't just favor Evan. They felt entitled to whatever I had built. And soon they were going to prove it. 6 months ago, Evan started dating Maya. She was 24, worked at a nail salon, and from the few times I met her, she seemed quiet, polite in that way people get when they're not sure where they stand in a family. She smiled a lot, asked questions, tried to fit in. I didn't dislike her. I also didn't invest emotionally. Experience had taught me that anything tied to Evan eventually became complicated. 3 months into their relationship, Evan announced at a family dinner that Maya was pregnant. My parents reacted like he'd just cured cancer. My mom burst into tears, hugging Maya so tightly I thought she might crack a rib. My dad stood up and shook Evan's hand like he'd just won a Nobel Prize. They started talking over each other. Due dates, baby names, how excited they were to become grandparents. Nobody asked how Evan planned to support a child. Nobody asked about savings, housing, insurance. They didn't need to. In their minds, the solution was already obvious. My mom started buying baby things immediately. Within 2 weeks, their basement looked like a baby store exploded. She sent photos to the family group chat constantly. "Look at this adorable elephant mobile. Isn't this bassinet precious?" I couldn't resist these tiny socks. I'd stare at my phone and feel this slow, creeping dread settle in, because I wasn't thinking about socks. I was thinking about who was actually going to pay for this child's life. My dad started researching childcare costs, insurance plans, how to convert part of the basement into a nursery. They weren't helping Evan prepare to be a parent. They were preparing to be the parents. I stayed out of it. I had my own life, my own responsibilities. Their chaos didn't need to become my problem. But the warning signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. 4 months into the pregnancy, Maya's parents kicked her out. Religious disapproval, shame, ultimatums. She moved into my parents' basement with Evan. Now there were 3 adults, a growing mountain of baby supplies, and an impending newborn under one roof. My mom started complaining about space. I listened politely, nodding, thinking, "You built this. You deal with it." Then came the trip. 2 months ago, I had a major work trip scheduled to Seattle, 8 days. One of my biggest potential clients was based there, a development company looking to invest millions into commercial properties across the Midwest. This wasn't just another meeting. This was career-defining. I spent weeks preparing, built financial models, researched comparable properties, practiced presentations until I could recite them in my sleep. Before leaving, I did my usual routine. asked my neighbor Bill, retired accountant, 3 houses down, to grab my mail, set my lights on timers, put my bills on autopay, checked my Ring doorbell notifications. And I made the mistake that would unravel everything. I kept a spare key at my parents' house. It had been there since I bought the house, for emergencies only. Burst pipes, fire, absolute worst-case scenarios. In 2 years, it had never been an issue. I trusted them. I flew out Sunday afternoon and checked into my hotel downtown. The week went incredibly well. Meetings landed, presentations impressed. By Friday afternoon, I was 90% sure I'd closed the deal. I barely checked my phone except for work. That's when Bill called. The second I saw his name, my stomach dropped. "Hey, Opal," he said gently. "Hope I'm not interrupting your trip." "No," I said. "What's going on?" "I grabbed your mail like you asked, but I wanted to check something. There are cars in your driveway, people going in and out of your house. I figured maybe you had family staying there and forgot to mention it." My brain stalled. "Bill," I said slowly, "nobody is supposed to be at my house." There was silence on the line. "Well," he said carefully, "someone definitely is. I saw a young couple unloading boxes from a U-Haul on Tuesday. Furniture, bags. Looked like a move-in." Tuesday. I'd left Sunday. Within 48 hours of me leaving, someone had moved into my house. I opened my Ring app right there in the hotel lobby and started scrolling through notifications I'd ignored all week. Tuesday, 11:47 a.m. The front door opened. There was Evan, smiling, my spare key in his hand like he owned the place. Behind him was Maya, visibly pregnant, carrying shopping bags. They walked inside like this was normal, like this had been discussed, planned. Because it had. I scrolled through more footage. Boxes, furniture, multiple trips. This wasn't stopping by. This was a coordinated takeover. I called Evan immediately. He answered on the fourth ring, casual as ever. "Hey sis, what's up? How's Seattle?" "What's up?" I said, my voice shaking. "Why are you in my house?" He didn't hesitate. "Oh yeah, meant to text you. Things got crazy over here. Maya's parents kicked her out. It was brutal. She was crying. Mom and Dad's basement is packed with baby stuff, and stress isn't good for her." "And that explains why you moved into my house?" "Well," he said, like this was obvious, "you travel all the time. You weren't using the space. Your place is bigger, quieter. It just made sense." I felt something crack inside my chest. "You didn't ask me." "Relax," he said. "We cleaned your bathrooms, mowed your lawn. We're basically taking care of the place." Tenants. That's what he called themselves next. Tenants. When I told him to leave immediately, he laughed. "Maya's 7 months pregnant, Opal. We can't just move again. That's dangerous for the baby. You wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?" And there it was. The manipulation, the entitlement, the expectation that I'd fold, like I always had. "Be gone by tomorrow," I said. "Or I call the police." His tone changed, defensive. "Mom and Dad said it was fine. Take it up with them." When I called my parents, my mom said, "We didn't think you'd be so selfish." Selfish for wanting my own home. That night, standing alone in a hotel lobby thousands of miles away, I realized something with terrifying clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was who they were. And I was done being the backup plan. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in my hotel bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every word from those phone calls like a broken recording. Evan's laugh. My mom calling me selfish. My dad's cold disappointment, as if I had betrayed them. By morning, the anger had hardened into something sharper. Clarity. At 6:12 a.m., I called a locksmith in Columbus and scheduled an emergency lock change for Saturday at 9:00 a.m. Weekend rate. Extra fees. I didn't care. Peace of mind is expensive, but chaos costs more. Then I booked the earliest flight home. If they were going to test my boundaries, I was going to be there to enforce them. I left Evan a voicemail, short, calm, final. "A locksmith will be at my house at 9 tomorrow morning. If you're not gone by then, anything left inside will be placed on the curb." He called back just before midnight. "You're really doing this?" he demanded. "Where are we supposed to go?" "Not my problem," I said. "You created this situation." "Maya's pregnant," he snapped. "She shouldn't be lifting boxes or sleeping on couches. Have some humanity." "I have humanity," I replied. "What I don't have is patience for people who take what isn't theirs." He went quiet, then turned cruel. "Fine. Don't expect to be part of this kid's life. Don't come to holidays. You're choosing a house over your own niece." "It's not just a house," I said. "It's my home, and it's absolutely worth protecting." He hung up. By the time I landed Saturday afternoon, Bill was already watching from his driveway like a sentry. They've been loading up since early morning, he said. It's been emotional. I walked into my house and felt like a stranger in my own life. They'd taken the master bedroom, changed my sheets, filled my closet. The second bedroom had been turned into a nursery. Crib assembled, decals on the wall, tiny clothes hung like a future I hadn't agreed to. The kitchen was rearranged. Their food, their furniture, their photos. This wasn't crashing. This was colonizing. I didn't say a word while they loaded the U-Haul. I watched, documented, waited. At 4 p.m., Evan knocked on my door one last time. "You've always been cold," he said. "You think you're better than us." "If respecting boundaries makes me cold," I replied, "then I'm freezing." They left. I changed the locks Monday morning. Every single one. And for the first time since buying that house, I finally exhaled. Or at least I thought I did. 3 weeks later, at 10:03 p.m., someone tried to unlock my back door. I watched through my Ring camera as Evan jammed the old key into the new lock, growing more aggressive with each failed attempt. Windows, doors. He tried everything. This wasn't a conversation. This was a break-in. I called the police. 8 minutes later, they arrested my brother on my front porch. When the officer asked if I wanted to press charges, I said yes. Because blood doesn't mean access, and family doesn't mean immunity. The patrol car pulled away slowly, red and blue lights washing over my house one last time before disappearing down the street. Evan was in the back seat, cuffed, furious, shouting words I didn't need to hear anymore. "You're dead to me," he yelled as the car door shut. "Don't ever contact me again. Don't come near my daughter. You're not family." I stood on my porch in the cool night air, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My hands were shaking, but my voice, when I finally spoke to the officer, was steady. "Yes," I said again. "I want to press charges." Bill came over to give his statement. Calm, precise. The way accountants are when numbers don't lie. He told them about the unauthorized move-in, the eviction, what he'd witnessed tonight. The Ring footage did the rest. The officers assured me someone would follow up and left. Silence returned to the street. Inside my house, everything was exactly where I'd left it, but something had shifted permanently. The sense of safety I'd fought to reclaim was real now, but it came with a quiet grief. Not for Evan. For the illusion that family meant protection instead of entitlement. My parents found out within hours. My mom called from a number I didn't recognize, her voice hysterical. "Evan is in jail. They set his bail at $5,000. We had to use a bondsman. How could you do this to your own brother?" "He tried to break into my house," I said. "That was his choice." "He was just trying to talk to you," she cried. "This is going on his record. How is he supposed to support his family now?" He should have thought about that before committing a crime. My dad took the phone, furious. "You've crossed a line, Opal. Pressing charges against your own brother? We didn't raise you like this." "No," I said quietly. "You raised Evan to believe rules don't apply to him. You raised me to survive without you. You succeeded at both." I hung up. And this time, I blocked every number. 2 months later, I showed up to court with documentation, Ring footage, and a calm I didn't expect to have. The prosecutor called it one of the clearest cases he'd seen. Evan pleaded guilty to attempted criminal trespass. 1 year of probation, a fine, and a restraining order, 500 feet from my property. My parents didn't attend. Neither did Maya. Evan stood alone with a public defender, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Not angry, not entitled, just defeated. 3 weeks ago, the baby was born. I know because my aunt, my only remaining link to that side of the family, texted me a photo. Evan and Maya are still living in my parents' basement. Money's tight. Evan lost his vape shop job because of the criminal record. Maya's on maternity leave, unsure if she can even return to work because childcare costs more than she earns. I felt a flicker of sadness, and then it passed. Because here's the truth I finally accepted. I didn't cause this. I didn't abandon anyone. I didn't choose property over family. I chose boundaries over exploitation, peace over guilt, safety over silence. I sit in my living room now, late at night sometimes, listening to the quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, but earned. Every lock on my door is new. Every room is mine. For the first time in my life, no one has access to me unless I give it. And that, more than any house, any deal, any promotion, is what freedom feels like.